All right, folks, welcome to another episode of the Privacy Huddle. What a pleasure. Matt, Max, thank you for joining me for this fun episode. What a fun day we had yesterday here in the Kelly Dry office. Hosted a one-day seminar to kick off the year with our friends at Kelly Dry. It was just a pleasure. Got together with a number of privacy professionals to hear from regulators, hear from brand leaders about all the issues that are top of mind as we come into the year. And so we thought, why not take advantage of this time in person? And that's why we're bringing you together today with Matt Dumiak from CompliancePoint, and thought we'd sit down and chop it up on issues that are top of mind as we roll into 2026. So, Matt, I'm sure many of our viewers know who you are, but give us a little intro about yourself and CompliancePoint.
Yeah, thanks, Colleen. Hi, everyone. We'll try to look at the camera as well as at each other to keep it conversational. Try not to use too many hand movements here.
We're new at this.
Yeah, exactly.
This
I'm
is
kind of
so
new at
fancy.
this, but my name's Matt Dumiak. I oversee the privacy practice at CompliancePoint. We're a consulting firm, partner of Ketch. And yeah, really enjoyed the State of the Union yesterday. A lot of great information. Glad we made it in the storm, and excited to be talking to you all today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And Max, I'm sure many folks know who you are, but for those who don't.
My name is Maxwell Anderson. I'm one of the co-founders and head of product at Ketch.
Matt, I'd love to start with you. Beginning of 2026, one of the things that many U.S. brand leaders, I think, are thinking about are, from a state law perspective, what are the nuances or top-of-mind considerations for this year? And I'd love to hear from you and what you're working on with customers. What's top of mind, or what are you thinking about that, we hear a lot about commonalities across the state laws, but of course there's outliers or interesting things to watch out for. What's top of mind for you right now?
Yeah, good question, Colleen. So, of course, it's only natural to want to crosswalk the patchwork of state laws. There's 19 in effect now. It's very common to look at the one that's most active, being California, and saying, hey, we're going to base our program off of that. I think what we're focused on with clients is primarily looking at their program and saying, okay, that's a good fit, but there are some nuances that are starting to pop up in these different states with their privacy laws, where even when we heard yesterday from John from Delaware, where he said, as an example, when I look at a privacy policy and you say that Delaware, or don't even mention Delaware residents, may have these specific rights, no, we do have those rights. I want to see that Delaware is called out. I don't need a separate Delaware privacy policy, but it should be mentioned and be clear and transparent to consumers in my state that they have this right under this privacy law, as an example. So that's where we're seeing some nuances pop up, where the state regulators will have, or agencies will have, an opinion about how that's approached. Certainly from a disclosure perspective, but then also as we were kind of prepping for this, we talked about some nuances in Minnesota with their data inventory obligation. I think the majority of state privacy laws would probably indicate that you need to have an inventory even to simply comply with their privacy law, and would expect that you operate from one. Minnesota and others are starting to outline specifically that an organization needs to have a personal information inventory that they operate from. They don't provide a lot of information around, somewhat different actually from GDPR, where they say, hey, you have to operate from a record of processing and these are the components it needs to have. They're just saying you need to have these state laws are outlining that you need to have a personal information inventory, as an example. So I think that's an early focus from us. Are those nuances? Max, were you gonna?
It just feels like you're saying data mapping is back.
Yeah, data mapping is back. Yep, we're getting a lot of requests around that. You would be shocked at how many companies don't have it yet. Right, I think they started hot and heavy with those as a foundation back in 2018. Yeah. Kind of switched gears to probably some do not sell obligations that they had, which is still important, and we'll talk about that. But that's where a lot of our clients and where we're focused is that type of thing. And then beyond that, which kind of adds on to the inventory obligation, is some of these states have very specific obligations under access rights, including providing a list of actual third parties that the business sold personal information to, like the actual list, not just the categories of ad tech providers and that type of thing. And as you all know, that third party definition is really critical under these state privacy laws. There are service providers, there's contractors, there's processors, like all these different things. So cutting through that and understanding that is really critical, and I think a nuance that could be a gotcha for companies, where an easy thing that the regulator looks at and goes, oh, no, you didn't include that, right?
Interesting. And are you seeing people approach that by starting with the list of cookies and mapping those to vendors, or are you seeing that from the data inventory? What's been the best practice for you so far?
Yeah, good question. So to your point, the third parties are, when we think about that in the U.S., that traditionally is viewed as any type of targeted advertising, certain tracking technologies there is a strategy there to go through those contracts and go through what any type of technology on the website is doing and put some in a service provider bucket. So it's not to say carte blanche, like anything on the website, that's a third party automatically, and that needs to automatically be included in these types of access requests. But yeah, that is certainly a start, is having a comprehensive inventory of what's on the website, looking through your CMP to do that, and and saying, okay, but then let's go through this in that capacity, but then also as an individual goes through the website ecosystem, as they go through the website, as you all know, different things fire at different times. So helping the client understand that and what information's actually getting sent to those trackers is also an area where you're like, okay, we're digging into like not just contracts, but network traffic and that type of thing. It's really a forensic exercise to figure that out.
I'm curious. I've had a lot of customers ask me, they want to put that list in the, we call them experiences, but in the actual, you can think of it as the cookie banner or the modal or whatever. I'm from Oklahoma. We say there's no kill like overkill. I'm curious though, is that an overkill situation, or do you expect people to take that stance that it's not just in the nature or in the process of an access request, but it's actually something that they want to put more prominently either in the privacy policy or in some of these disclosures? Yeah,
I think that there's two trains of thought there, and I think that is an approach that organizations will and have taken, is saying, okay, we're going to actually, and that might reduce some of the level of effort they have as well in terms of trying to make and compile that type of request per consumer, is saying we're going to attempt to take an approach of publicly putting this out there in a privacy notice or within a preference center, whatever it might be, to say, here is this information. You have access to it. You can access it in real time and this location. Absolutely, where they would proactively put that information out there, and rather than compile it per consumer request.
Interesting.
Yeah. The organization, exactly.
I mean, sometimes customers ask for things and you do them, but maybe it's not going to have
good to know in practice. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. What are you seeing this request manifest in customer conversations from a tech expectations standpoint?
Oh yeah, that hit big Q4 last year. And it was less. I mean, certainly people have been doing this in access requests for a little while with us, but the thing that changed for us last year in deals was I want to make sure that it's accessible even without an access request, which I thought was strange and didn't necessarily understand it, but it also just seems kind of cool, honestly. It seems like a natural extension of a privacy experience. It's just more robust. It seems rational. So of course we went and did it, but wasn't exactly sure how many people would bite at the end. So it's good to hear that it's not just the 10 or 15 that got excited in Q4.
Yeah, exactly. When you try to handle some of those things ad hoc, they can quickly become a fire drill and overwhelming. So I think that's the approach there for some businesses, to say we're just going to put it out there proactively. And even during the State of the Union yesterday, even Michael Macko talked about that we're kind of on the cutting edge of these regulations and these laws, and Elisa talked about it with the community and how it is like some of it's just putting your head together, brainstorming. Does this work? Does it not? What are regulators thinking? What feedback are they giving? That type of thing too. I mean, I find that working sessions are really helpful, and you're just going through and trying to problem solve and make sure you're doing right by your customers and the people who are visiting the website, but also, balancing the business aspects of it. But it's so new, really, in reality, when you look at the timeline of what we've had to, from a compliance perspective, what organizations are focused on and what they've had to solve for. So even the regulators, I think, are trying to figure it out too.
No doubt.
At times, right?
We continue to hear the same thing from Macko and other regulators, which is do the best you can, be transparent about what you're doing, be proactive about your communication in the course of an investigation. It's just, continues to be similar. I'd love to come back to the website data collection bit, because I think that was another theme we heard throughout the course of yesterday at the Privacy State of the Union. Of course, instigated by these wiretapping lawsuits and demand letters, but just a general, I think, desire and requirement now for privacy professionals to have a better comprehensive handle on data collection practices on the website. Matt, what gotchas or what are you recommending when you're talking with customers for what common areas they're overlooking when it comes to website data collection? Yeah,
and it's an expectation at this point. I think that, I know we've asked about there's been conversations, and even Macko commented yesterday about, a safe harbor, or do we have time once the DROP Act goes into effect? And, those types of things to get our feet under us and figure it out. And that time is coming past at this point, frankly. And they are our expectations about, at this point, having the technical wherewithal to dig into those types of collection practices, but also there's data minimization obligations in terms of what are you collecting, for what purpose. Some of that even is really getting into, well, what's on the website and are we receiving value from that type of thing. I think, we talked about it more at the federal level yesterday, but chat bots and that type of thing are going to be really a priority for the regulators. What use, what benefit are you getting out of those? Why are they on the website? What tracking technology, frankly, are they placing and collecting? What information are you sending back to those? All of that is going to be, it's just more of an expectation that you have to know now.
Yeah.
Exactly, and making it a priority for your organization rather than, hey, we'll table that and really focus on some other revenue generated opportunity, right?
Certainly speaking from the marketer standpoint, if you're a privacy professional and you think, oh, my organization is not using a chatbot, I'm telling you, every marketer is thinking about how do we do the chatbot on the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
AI enabled for sure. It's a requirement now.
Yeah.
So no doubt.
And one thing as well, we didn't really talk about it, but on the website, the data collection, what we're seeing, and you saw it in the sling enforcement, and they talked about it a lot yesterday, and what we're focused on with clients, and I know you all are too, is the do not sell, just stopping at shutting off cookies and trackers. That is sufficient if that's the only way in which an organization is selling, but often cases is not. Also, the identity verification, or understanding that they're the identity of the individual, and really tracking that through. Maybe it's because I'm reading the Steve Jobs or listening to the Steve Jobs autobiography now, but he talks a lot about seamless integration from like software to hardware and what how important it is for the consumer experience and that product. But that's what came to mind when I was hearing the regulators talk yesterday, and when I've looked at your product and solution. Like, it's got to be seamless. Like, you can't have someone opt out on this and then have to go over here and opt out when they're logged in, like that type of thing. I don't know if you'd add any color there, but like that's a real focus, is like, let's finish this thought and stream, right, for clients.
I mean, yes, of course, and I've been waiting for this for 7 years. Maybe we are finally experiencing the moment where the cookie banner as a kind of commoditized class of software dies.
Right.
Because the problem is so much harder than that. And it doesn't work at most companies simply because if you built a commoditized widget that scans cookies and maybe blocks them modestly sufficiently, the do not sell, seamless integration, who's behind the screen. I've got data tied to email addresses and account IDs, but I've also got the TikTok pixel on the website, and I did it through a form or I did it through a switch, and all that nonsense gets really complicated if you just built a cookie banner. So yes.
To your point, I think there's a future state way of thinking about that. And I just think most businesses aren't there yet, but I'm glad we're talking about it, and I think it's something that needs more attention and needs more thought.
It does. I had a fun conversation with a customer who's in the process of leaving their current provider, and one of the things I thought was really salient that she said was, when we bought Company X back in whatever year, the privacy team can manage it because it was just a cookie banner, and we did the thing, and we could manage it, but now the obligations and the enforcement suggest this is a much harder, deeper problem, and frankly, the product teams need to own this. Like the privacy team just can't do that anymore. And so in the same way, it's if you treat it like a first-class citizen, but of course you're going to have more tech involvement, and it's going to be a much richer, deeper experience. And then by virtue of that, the seamless experience actually becomes a little bit more feasible. So I thought that was an interesting tell. And I think we'll see more of that this year.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for this conversation. Matt, appreciate you being a guest and joining us on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
What's on the docket for CompliancePoint this spring? Anything you want folks to be aware of?
Yeah, sure. So we have our customer conference in Orlando this spring, which is really what we're excited about right now. It's CompliancePoint Exchange. I hope to see you all there. I believe you're going to be there.
Absolutely.
So, we have a lot of clients come in, a lot of law firm partners that we work with. And again, that's in mid-March in Orlando. So if anybody needs any information about it, please reach out. I'm happy to share the link to register.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. We'll post links in the comments, folks, for everything we talked about. And thank you both for joining me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Colleen.